first and only guest tonight is the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize. He's a passionate advocate for human rights. Earlier today, he was in Indian Wells, California, speaking before the Desert Town Hall there. And he turned up here. It's an honour to have him. Please welcome Archbishop Desmond Tutu, everybody.
Thank you.
Father Tutu, welcome. Welcome. Thank you so much for being on this show. And I know you must be very tired. You just, was it 22-hour flight from South Africa?
I'm looking for 2 clones.
2 clones? Oh, I see. Yes. I'm like, what have you been taking? What did they give you back? Yeah, well, you're going to need it.
I'm just glad to be here. But I think you're crazy.
You think I'm crazy? Well, what on earth gave you that idea? Now, you've met some crazy. I mean, P.W. Botha was crazy.
No, a different kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You send them to asylums.
Yeah.
No, not you. We want you.
Oh, really?
We want your craziness.
Thank you. Listen, I often wonder when you have such a reputation. I mean, I gave you a huge build-up coming out. Does it embarrass you? Does it make you feel awkward?
Did you hear the story of the woman who went to her husband's funeral with her son, and the minister did what you did about me, and she turned to her son and said, "I think we've come to the wrong funeral."
Oh, no. I think you're being a little modest there. I mean, it can't have been easy what you were up against then, and up against that. I mean, I read your editorial in the New York Times this week. I mean, you're still doing a lot of work in South Africa, and in Africa, all over Africa.
Yes. Yes. One of the wonderful things about having a dark skin is that when people say things like you were saying,
yes,
you don't see that I'm blushing. No, there's a lot of awfulness in the world.
Yes, I know.
And most of us know that. But what we don't also recognize is there's a great deal of good.
I was going to ask you about that, because you have, clearly you're a very high cleric, you're a theologian, you studied the religions of the world, particularly your own, I would imagine. So what I'm thinking is, did you ever read Thomas Aquinas?
A little bit.
Right, you know Thomas Aquinas when he goes on about how people are essentially good, and for evil to exist, evil is an aspect of good, that if evil were the only thing, then there would be nothing. That's Thomas Aquinas, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you find the good when you're dealing with a situation that you and Mr. Mandela were dealing with the Praetorian government? Where do you find the good in these people? Where do you find the ability for truth and reconciliation?
Yeah. One of the important things to keep remembering is that evil is an aberration. That is why you get upset. I mean, you get upset when a baby is abused or a woman is abused, I hope.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I do, yeah. Well, you gave me that look like I didn't. I do.
You know, I mean, we went to Darfur.
Right.
And it's one of the most awful places in the world. I mean, most of the description of it fall very far short of telling you about the reality. And yet there were 2 things particularly that struck me. It was, we met with the internally displaced persons, the refugees.
Right.
And you talked to them, living in the squalor and the unspeakable squalor. they could laugh. And the men who were Muslim were wearing white robes, clean, spotless. And you said, now where could they get the water in this place to do this? But the other, that's the first.
Well, where do they get the water, though?
It's actually, I mean, part of it is they get trucks bringing it in.
Okay.
If the women try to go and get firewood outside of the camp, they are raped.
What?
Yeah. It really is awful, and yet there was this resilience. You know, what human beings are incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, you are incredible.
Oh, no, stop. But what I was going to...
The second thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, you're right. No, you're good.
But the second thing is, you have these incredible human beings who come, most of them from very well-to-do places, who are the humanitarian workers. We hardly ever hear enough praise of fantastic people. Many of them actually, you know, go there. It's their second, third mission.
Right.
And you say, what makes them do that? They get no kudos. It is just that they would not, in fact, be able to live a normal life if they didn't go and do the kind of things. So there are fantastic human beings. There really are.
Is that how you hang on to your faith when you see such evil and such injustice? As a churchman, it must be very difficult. Or maybe it's not, I don't know, I presume too much. But is there a test of your faith when you see how awful the things can be?
Yes, I mean, it is that evil is evil. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't, seek to minimize the ghastlinesses. I mean, when people put others into gas chambers, that's awful. I mean, there's no word hard, good enough to describe the level of evil. I mean, in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, we heard some gruesome accounts. I mean, somebody says, we gave him drugged coffee, we shot him in the head, and then we burnt his body. It takes 7-8 hours for a human body to burn completely. And so whilst the body is burning here, we're having a barbecue here, drinking beer and laughing, and there's a human body burning, and here's cow flesh burning. And we say, what could have happened to the humanity of anyone that they could sink so low?
What could happen to that? And how do you find reconciliation? How do you find forgiveness in that? It must be, it's a gargantuan task, the idea.
It is, and yet you met many people, not just black people, I mean, white people who had this incredible magnanimity. One woman was with friends at a Christmas party at a golf club, and one of the liberation movements threw hand grenades into the party, and several of the people were killed. She wasn't killed, but she was so badly wounded, she was in ICU for several months. Now she's talking, and she says she couldn't, when she came out, she couldn't wash herself, she couldn't clothe herself, she could not feed herself. It was done for her by her children. And then she says, a condition that leaves her almost totally hopeless. She says, it has enriched my life.
Wow.
Enriched my life. This must be crazy.
It's very advanced for me. I don't get it.
And then she says, I'd like to meet the perpetrator.
Wow.
I'd like to meet him in a spirit of forgiveness. I'd like to forgive him. And then she says, and I hope he forgives me.
Wow.
I mean, that's mind-blowing.
Is that the only way to freedom, is forgiveness? I remember hearing something about the Dalai Lama talking about he felt he was in danger with the Chinese because he felt himself losing compassion for them, which I didn't really understand at the time, but it sounds a little bit like what you're saying.
The thing is that you and I and all of us, even when we don't accept it, or understand, it is that God created us in such a way that I can't be human on my own. I wouldn't know how to walk as a human being. I wouldn't know how to think. I wouldn't know how to speak. I wouldn't know how to be a human being except through learning from other human beings. And so our humanity is bound up with one another's. And you see, we saw it in South Africa. If you carry out a policy that dehumanizes others, in the process, you are dehumanized.
Right.
And so you understand now, you understand how others can say, in order for me to be me, I want to forgive you. Because, have you discovered, when you don't forgive, frequently you feel it in your tum-tum.
You do.
Yes.
I always thought, I was told that resentment was like drinking poison and then expecting someone else to die. You know, that it has that...
Oh, that's a beautiful...
Thank you very much, it's not mine. Father Tutu, we have to take a break, and then we'll be right back. We'll be right back with Archbishop Desmond Tutu, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I'm here with Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Sir, may I ask you a little bit about your relationship with Mr. Mandela? Are you friendly? Do you keep in touch? Do you talk?
Yes and no. I mean, he's actually an incredible human being. I mean, all of us have come to accept this, but it is for real. You know, one day I go and have lunch with him, and I'm driving from Soweto to town where he lives. We finish the lunch, and he goes to the door, and he says, "Driver!" He's calling out for my driver, and I say, well, no, I don't have a driver. I chauffeured myself from Soweto. He doesn't say anything.
Right.
2 or 3 days later, he calls, Mpilo. I'm sorry, I didn't ask you, but I didn't like the fact that you were driving yourself. And so I have asked 1 or 2 of my friends whether they can help you. And he genuinely can't stop himself when he sees what he believes is a need.
Right.
He wants to do something to meet it. And so now I have funds that enable me to have someone to drive me. But he's stubborn too.
Nelson Mandela's stubborn, there's news. 27 years in prison, no, I'm not moving a damn inch, let me out. That's pretty stubborn.
But he's beautiful. You know, often people say, 27 years, oh, what a waste. Just look at what this guy would have done. No.
Right, of course.
No, because you see, when he went to jail, he was angry. Mm-hmm. An angry young person who was appalled by the miscarriage of justice that had happened.
Of course, understandably.
And it is, suffering can make you bitter, but suffering can also, it burns away all of the chaff,
yeah.
And Nelson learned there to put himself in the shoes of the other, trying to understand how the Afrikaner must be feeling. His compassion, his magnanimity, his willingness to forgive those who had done him such an injustice, had done his people such an injustice. Incredible. And we were very, very blessed, because you can imagine if we had had someone who said, we want to get our own back.
Yeah. You'd still be at it. It'd be still going on.
If we were going to be alive still.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Our country would have gone up in flames.
Sure.
And that's why we say there actually is no future without forgiveness. Just think, if you, I know you don't do this, but if you quarrel with your wife.
God bless you. Yeah.
You don't know.
No, and I'm sure you don't quarrel with yours either. I know. I went too far. Yeah.
But you know what would happen to that relationship if one of you didn't say those words which are in any language the most difficult. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Or, you sometimes you squeeze them out of you.
Yeah. That's how I get them out. Yeah.
But if you don't, there's not much hope for that relationship. If you just build up the resentments, and one day, a very small thing, just look at the toothpaste tube. He's done it again. Squeeze it in the middle.
Yeah, that's terrible business.
No,
yeah.
I hear that is what happens. I'm not.
No, you would never do that. I understand.
No. I hear that is what they do. You throw your towels all over the place, and think that there will be somebody who's going to pick them up.
Yeah, you're giving away a lot tonight, Father Tutu,
No. I'm just telling you about what I have heard.
All right, okay.
We would have been in real trouble in our country had it not been that we said it is important for people to be able to tell their story. Have you found out how powerful telling one story can be?
A little bit, yeah, I know a little bit about that, yeah.
We had a young man. He was blinded by police action. He came to tell us his story. When he finished, one of the panel of the TRC said, "How do you feel now that you have told your story?" Unbelievably, a smile broke over his face. And he said, he's still blind. He said, "You have given me back my eyes." That telling the story as you did in the TRC, it was telling it to the whole world. It's reported very, very extensively. It was an incredible rehabilitation, a wonderful acknowledgement that what he had done had not just gone up in smoke.
It had happened, and people
yes, and that he was part of the reason why we now had a free South Africa.
Tell me, if you can, we're almost out of time, but I'd love to hear how your feelings on the American state of affairs right now with the election of Barack Obama? Is this, yeah, I thought you were.
But now you realize actually just how bound up with one another we are.
Sure.
That there was a time when you wished, I mean, that America could disappear from the face of the earth.
Well, not me, but I think some people were angry at us.
Yes,
yeah,
I mean, there was a lot of anger, not against Americans. There was a lot of anger against the policies of a particular administration.
Yes.
The apparent arrogance. I mean, look at the awful things that you were doing. Not you, I mean you. In Guantanamo Bay, in Abu Ghraib.
What I would say in defence, although I don't feel you attacking, but what I would say in defence of that is that I always felt that a very effective, perhaps the most effective, as it turned out, voice of dissent against these things was from inside the United States. The pressure from within eventually, you know, discarded these policies and moved away from them.
I mean, let's come back to the beautiful thing.
Okay.
November, when was it?
Last year, 2008.
Yes, November the 4th? What?
November the 4th, yeah. Because this is like my citizenship test. Come on, ease up.
Well, you know, we were sitting, we were at a game lodge, and my wife was sitting in front of the television, and we were watching the celebrations in Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Yeah. And she was sitting there, and tears were streaming down her face. And she said, I don't know why I'm crying. I'm so happy. You know, and all of us were uplifted.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just here. And I came in January the 20th. Fantastic. I mean, I had a ticket and thought we would be able to wend our way through the crowds.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, you saw people of all sizes, shapes, and especially for someone coming from a former racist country, it was so heartwarming to see the number of white people. Well, actually, you would not have been elected.
But there is that, yeah.
That, and people were walking with a new pride.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a palpable. You could feel the goodwill, the joy, the pride. Some of our friends said, you know, I caught myself waving the American flag, which I used to burn. You know,
right.
This was an American. That, and now. A new hope. I mean, the world was feeling, hey, America is experiencing a kind of Mandela moment.
Oh, right, okay.
You
know, Bishop, we're completely out of time. I'd love to talk to you more. Yeah, no, please. Sorry. Archbishop Desmond Tutu, everybody. We'll be right back.